interpersonal, group communication, mass media, verbal, oral,
Ma'am, can
written.
you show that slide once, ma'am? Mass media slide. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Verbal communication, oral communication, written, limitations and advantages of oral and written. And today we started yesterday non-verbal communication, and today we have to continue from this slide. Non-verbal divided into two groups, static and dynamic. So in non-verbal communication, there are two classifications are given, static feature and dynamic feature. And static feature that remain constant or stationary during interaction until it is intentionally changed. For example, distance. Distance, like someone is the proximity between the people, the distance where if someone is very close and we are very someone is very close like our friends and family, then the distance will be less. And if someone we are like publicly talking to someone, or we are on a stage and different many people are there, many audience are there, so then the distance will be more. Orientation, orientation, face to face, side to side, like while talking to someone, if we are side to side, like in competitor, when price is distributed to competitors first, second, third, then they are standing side by side. This is just an example. Posture, posture when whether the posture is cross-legged, folded arms, whether the posture is crossed, closed posture, or it's open posture, then this also comes in static feature. In contact, physical contact, shaking hands, touching, holding, patting, etc. All these come in physical contact, and this is also a static feature. Why this is a static feature? Because once we can't hold hand of a stranger. So if we are holding hand of someone, then it means that someone is known to us. So the relationship is established already. It's not changing until we are intentionally making any change into it, in our posture, in our orientation, distance, physical contact. So after static features, next is dynamic features. Facial expressions such as smile, frown, raised eyebrow, yawn, etc. So when we are talking, we use facial expression. Our facial expressions continuously it keeps changing. I raised eyebrows when you hear something which is new, or you're surprised by listening to something, then you raise your eyebrows. Yawn when you feel that something is boring, then we yawn. Gestures, hand movements. So while communicating, we also use our hand movements, our gestures, which are also dynamically and continuously changing throughout the interaction. Looking, eye contact. So in eye contact also, attentive eye contact can be of many types, like attentive eye contact, like when you are looking directly into eyes of another person, and it indicates that you're listening actively, you're engaged in the conversation, and it shows your interest. But when you're looking away or you're avoiding direct eye contact, then it may signal that you are not comfortable, or you're shy. Or if there is prolonged or intense gaze, if the gaze is prolonged and intense into someone's eyes, then it is associated with the deep emotional connection with that person. Or if you maintain a steady gaze while speaking, then it conveys confidence or authority. So eye contact, all these are the dynamic features.
Ma'am, what
Yes.
uh, what makes these things to be categorized under static or dynamic? How have they been categorized, ma'am?
See, the static features are changing, and sorry, not statics, dynamic features are changing. These are naturally changing. Like when right now, if you talk, if you speak something, then you will naturally use your hand gestures. You will naturally, your eye contact will be it will be certain way. Either you will try to avoid, either you will uh, directly look into the eyes, or your facial expressions, these will naturally change. But static features, these once these are once the distance is fixed, then until you do not change it intentionally, then it will not change. In the same way, if you are shaking hands, it shows your relationship with that person. It's not, the relationship will not change, that relationship. So both these static and dynamic features, these help to decode the message conveyed in non-verbal communication. Is this clear?
Ah, okay.
Okay. Then types of non-verbal communication. Proxemics. These are the terms. Proxemics means it's related to proximity, the distance between the people. And paralinguistic. Paralinguistic is related to what? Pitch, volume, speed, clarity, tone, all these comes in paralinguistic. This is same study of variation in pitch, the last point, paralinguistic. In kinesics, message through movement, like traffic police example is given. So this is Mehrabian's theory that in communication, 7% words, 38% tone of voice, and 55% body language. So the message is sent 55% through body language. Actions speak louder than words. Words are only 7%. Remember this: 7% words, 38% tone of voice, 55% body language. Given by Mehrabian. And haptics is related to touch. This is the term used for touch in communication, like patting, hugging, or shaking hands. Phonemics. Phonemics is sound related. For example, there are some words slightly different, which slightly differ in the sound, and it can change their meaning. For example, slip and sleep. So it's not verbal. We are not talking about verbal aspect of these words. We are talking about non-verbal, the sound aspect. If I say I almost had a sleep on the wet floor, then it will be wrong. But instead, I need to use I almost had a slip on the floor. This is the difference between sound related. Sound of two sentences can change their meaning. Dress and appearance. So how we dress when we go to marriages, we dress a certain way. When we have any official meeting, then any professional work, then we dress some other way. If we have to, if we are at home, we dress a certain way. So how on festivals also we dress and appear a certain way. So all these our dress and appearance is also a form of non-verbal communication. Chromatics, colors, color of something also, the color of something also a type of non-verbal communication. Iconics, iconics like emojis or any symbols that we also see in road and company logos, all these come in iconics. Artifacts, what are artifacts, anybody?
Antique things,
Yes,
things that we put in display.
things, what?
Usually we put as a display, no ma'am, at home and other places. Artifacts.
Yes, yes,
Could be
right,
a
right,
painting, some idol, like that.
right. Anything like home decor or any technological device, clothing, accessories, jewelry, or any vehicle that we have. So if someone has a luxury car, then it communicates that it conveys that the person is financially very good. Then these things also communicate something. The study of role of eye contact, oculesics. So this term oculesics is came from Latin word oculus, which means eye. So oculus means eye. Study of role of eye contact. Study of use of time. Chronomics is related to time. For example, when you are on time, then some people might consider you that you are you are sincere and you are respectful to them. When if you are late somewhere, then people might think that you are not respecting them. Study of use of time and study of variation in pitch, paralinguistic, pitch, volume, speed, clarity, all these things. If you have any doubt in these, you can ask.
No doubt.
Okay. Then the next is on basis of purpose and style. So on the basis of purpose, first one is formal communication. What is formal communication? Tell me.
Ma'am, formal communication means when you are talking with someone respected person, means in professional we are talking in formal communication. If
Yes,
any
and
unknown
where?
person
Mhm.
listen, means if we are talking some unknown person first time, so first we are talking in formal way.
Right. And
Ma'am, if
next one.
I'm communicating with my boss, I will be formal, like that.
Right. In formal communication, rules and certain rules, regulations, conventions, and protocols are followed. Very important in formal communication. You have to follow certain rules, regulations while formulating and communicating messages. It follows an organizational structure. It can be upward or downward, like uh, an employee can talk to their authority or the authority can talk to the employee. So it can be upward or downward across hierarchy or authority lines. In formal communication, the use of right language and correct pronunciation is required. For example, an in case an assistant professor has to communicate with college principal, it is usually through the head of the department. So this is example of formal communication. Then informal communication. Informal communication is we informally talk with people, with our family, friends, where we openly talk without following any rule, any regulation, without thinking about the grammar mistake, pronunciation mistake. We just talk freely and openly. Informal communication channel exists along with formal communication channel in any organization. So in an organization, it's not like that there will be only informal communication. Along with informal, formal communication will be there in the organization. It mainly addresses the social needs. It mainly addresses the social needs of the employees. It is interpersonal and mainly face to face. Mainly face to face with the use of body gestures. It happens among family, friends, and family. In informal communication, there are no formal rules and regulation for communication. No formal rules and regulation. A lot of distortion or filtering may take place. Now, this is the disadvantage of informal, that distortion or filtering may take place in informal communication, and this is termed as grapevine. Okay, so these were formal and informal. After that, the next classification is on the basis of direction. Vertical communication. This is basically formal communication. So how this is formal, as you can see in the picture, that supervisor, the authority, is talking with subordinates. So it's downward. And when subordinates are communicating with superiors, then it's upward. This can be upward, bottom up, and downward, top bottom. Can you give example of more any other example of vertical communication?
Student to teacher.
Right. Okay, then next is lateral or horizontal communication. Communication with people at the same level. So lateral like this, line goes like this. Communication with people at same level in hierarchy of peers and colleagues is termed a horizontal communication. This may combine both formal and informal communication. So horizontal communication can be both formal and informal. Vertical can only be can it is only formal. This is the most effective communication. And can you give me example of horizontal communication?
Ma'am said the same UGC NET class, whenever we are communicating with sir, it is more formal, the upward one. And here, when we are interacting with each other as classmates, it's more horizontal, ma'am.
Right. Okay, then next is diagonal communication. Diagonal communication is effective as hierarchical bindings are removed. Very important that in diagonal communication, hierarchical bindings are removed. As in the vertical communication, as we so in vertical communication, it occurs between two individuals at different hierarchical level within the same department. And in horizontal communication, it occurs between individuals at the same hierarchical level across different departments. But in diagonal communication, as there is no hierarchy binding, it cuts across both hierarchy and departmental boundaries. And there is free flow of information cutting across positions or statuses. It facilitates in building relationship and bonding between the superior and the subordinate. For example, if anybody have example in their mind, they can share of diagonal communication.
Can we take the political parties, ma'am, here? Like the ground level worker can directly interact with them,
Very
their
best
minister.
example.
Yeah.
Yes, best example. Okay. Diagonal after diagonal communication, next are the type of networks. Chain network. In this, flow of information occurs in up and down sequence. So like there is a CEO of company, then CEO is communicating, interacting with the vice president, then that vice president is communicating with department heads, and then department heads with individual employees. So it's following up, down, and up sequence, as you can see in the picture, chain network.
Does
Clear?
this come back E? Does E come back to A again, ma'am?
No. They are following a certain sequence. That's why otherwise it will be a circle if they will do communicate like this. It's chain. Members communicate with each other in a pre-planned sequence. Then star network, also known as wheel network. As you can see that this is the main member, and they can communicate with them, with them, with them, and them. But these members cannot talk with each other. They are not communicating with each other. Talk is not the right word, interact. So this is the star network. Here information flows from one central member, team leader of the group, to rest of the members. Other group members may not have to communicate with each other to perform well. All communication is channelized through the supervisor. For example, one-to-one interaction of HODs with college principal, but little or no interaction of HODs among themselves. HODs are not interacted with each other, but they communicate to principal. It's not very effective in teams, because in teams people interact with each other, but they are not interacting with each other. Clear?
Ma'am, can you give example one chain network?
Of chain network, as I gave that, if
Yes, ma'am.
like CEO of company, then CEO is interacting with vice president, and vice presidents are interacting with department heads, then department heads are interacting with individual employees. So it can be reversed also. There is a
Okay,
chain.
got it.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am,
Or
got it.
other example you can also take, like students are talking, interacting with the like the
Teacher.
teachers. And
The teacher will interact with the principal like this.
right. Then next is circle network. Group members communicate only with the nearest neighbor. For example, this is a person A. This person can only interact with they are only friends with this and this. So they will only interact with these two. And this person is friends with this and this. So they will only interact with these two. So in the same way, it goes on like this and it becomes a circle. Here, group members communicate only with the nearest neighbor. Here, members communicate informally, adjoining members generally on the basis of shared experience, beliefs, areas of expertise, background, or office location. It may have formal leader as well, but interaction is still lateral. It works in an autonomous team. So it's in simple words, you can understand that one person is friend with two-person, then that person is friend with other two, these two-person, and this is friend with these two-person, this is friend with these two-person. So they don't communicate like this to this to this to this. No, just to their just to their nearest neighbor they are communicating. Then all channel network, all members of a group communicate freely and independently, freely and independently with each other. Can you give me example of all channel network where anybody can talk with everybody?
WhatsApp group, na?
Right.
Or
And
maybe the college alumni meets, ma'am.
right. Also, if there is any group discussion, then also we can talk. Everybody can talk. But no, it's a type of discussion, so not. But in a team, all channel network is found in teams. Both the intensity and frequency of interaction is high among members. Information, both the intensity and frequency is high. Information flows in all direction. There is no formal leader and communication may be started by any member. Then after this, types of communication, asynchronous and synchronous. What do you understand by these two terms?
Synchronous means not in sync,
Hmm.
maybe delayed response. Synchronous is the same time we are getting response.
Yes. So what can be the examples of asynchronous communication and synchronous communication?
Emails can be asynchronous.
Correct.
Instant messaging, synchronous.
Yes. In asynchronous, when it's the communication is not in real time, when like it's not spontaneous, the feedbacks are not spontaneous and it's not happening in real time, then it's asynchronous. Modes, it can be through email, Google Drive, Yammer, Trello, all these are the modes. And benefits of asynchronous, tell me what can be the benefits and drawbacks of asynchronous.
Benefit is immediate response, ma'am. But the disadvantage could be sometimes we may react and we may not respond properly. In a hurry, being emotional, or sometimes we are disturbed and we reply in that state. It could be sabotaging to us.
Right. Asynchronous involve people across the organization. So, in the advantage of asynchronous communication is that when people have different schedules and the time doesn't match, then all the people can be involved through asynchronous communication. Time lag allows for consideration. When you don't have to give instant spontaneous feedbacks, then you have the time to think, reflect on things, and if you want to add something, you can gather information. So it allows time for consideration, for more consideration, draw insights from inverted members, people who are inverted, not sorry, introverted, not inverted. People who are introvert, they can also get benefit from this type of communication. And the downside of asynchronous communication is absence of non-verbal cues. When we are speaking, or we are orally verbally communicating, then we can use non-verbal hand gestures and all these gestures, body language. But in asynchronous communication, we cannot use non-verbal cues. Misunderstanding and assumptions. Our message could be interpreted and in a wrong way. Uses gathering input from different people. When we have to gather information from input from different people, then it is useful, because it might be possible that people all the people at the same time might not be available for real time conversation, so this mode is helpful for gathering different people's input. Synchronous. In synchronous, it includes in person meetings, online conferences, phone calls. Benefits: discuss and argue ideas effectively. You can give instant and real time discussion in synchronous. Trust, team building, team bonding, and trust building. So, in synchronous communication, the connection is more stronger. Efficiently define project needs. Give me a minute. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, so in benefits, discussing and argue ideas effectively. There is more team bonding and trust building in real time conversations, and you can effectively, uh, that what are ideas of everyone at the same time. Define project needs. You can know their needs and project needs. Downsides: time, cost, and financial expenses. In synchronous, when if it requires, if it needs traveling, then it can cost financial expenses and it can also cost time. Uses time sensitive projects. When there are some projects like which need to be finished on time, then in asynchronous communication there can be delay, but in synchronous it can be useful in time sensitive projects. Active feedback is needed. When feedback is needed, then synchronous is useful. After types of communication, effective communication. What are the characteristics of effective communication? How would you make your conversation or your interaction with someone more efficient?
The person to whom I convey something should first of all understand and comprehend what I'm saying now. It shouldn't hurt the other person.
Okay.
The language that I'm using,
Hmm.
the context that I'm trying to convey should land properly on the other side now. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. Anybody more?
Getting feedback, simple language.
Right. Okay. Let's see. There should be clarity of message among the sender and receiver. So the clarity of message should be there. If there is noise or the receiver is not able to grasp the message, then that won't be effective communication. Next, the message should be well planned and complete. If the message is not complete, then receiver won't be able to convey the meaning, interpret the meaning of the message. So the message should be well planned and complete. The message should be simple and short. There should be no unnecessary information. Feedback of the message should reach the sender without any delay. Proper feedback without any delay should be there. To understand receivers, sender should have empathy with them. For effective communication, empathy is the key. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. The sender should modify the message according to the level and needs of the audience, that they can understand it properly. According to the level and need of audience. Then gestures and other non-verbal techniques should be used. If we use body gestures, then it our communication becomes, our message becomes more effective. You can try doing this. Try talking to someone without using your body gestures or body language, without using hands and facial expressions. That won't be much effective. But if you use your body gestures, body language, then it would be more effective. Gestures and non-verbal techniques. These help in understanding the context in which the message was sent. The figures shows the various components, 7 C's and 4 S of communication are given here. So these are the 7 C's and 4 S for effective communication: completeness, conciseness, consideration, clarity, concreteness, courtesy, correctness, simplicity, shortness, strength, sincerity. Now let's understand these in more detail. Completeness. Completeness, what do you understand by completeness for communicating effectively?
Means some clear message of what we intend to reach the sender means it should be complete or clear cut.
Hmm. Okay. So our
आधा
message should,
आधा नहीं बोलना मैम, आधा
right,
आधा
correct,
इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं देना, should give proper.
correct. Completeness refers to including all the necessary information that is required. It means that all essential details and information needed by the recipient of the message should be included in the message. So all necessary information should be there. This is completeness. Then what is conciseness? Concise,
To the point, ma'am.
to the point. Conciseness in communication means focusing only on the necessary points in the message. Avoid using unnecessary or filler words. When we do not use filler words like these type of words, instead we just say silence, then that would be more effective. Consideration. Consideration, what is consideration here?
So if it is a child, we have to use their language, ma'am. If it is a teenager, we have to talk to them the way they'll understand. Old people, we have to be little repetitive. We have to repeat the thing only then they understand. Like that.
Yes. So according to whatever their level is, we should talk. We should make them understand on that way. Consideration means paying attention to the receiver or audience level, their age, their considering their educational level and considering their mental state. Clarity. Clarity. The purpose of the message should be clear. The purpose is clear, only then we will be able to uh, send our message more with clarity. The message will be clear if the purpose is clear. Then concreteness. What is concreteness in communication?
Spot on convey what we want, ma'am. इधर उधर घुमा फिरा के नहीं बोलना. We have to convey what we want to convey.
Yes. Avoiding verbosity, using more words than necessary, often result in long-winded or over-complicated communication. So it should be simple, not complicated, complex, anything. Just be just support your message with facts and figures instead of circling around indirectly. Courtesy. It should respect the recipient's understanding while effectively expressing the message. The message should be emotive. There should be some emotion in the message. It should be polite, thoughtful, sensible, friendly, enthusiastic. correctness. So the message should be correct. Grammatically, it should be correct, free from grammatical errors, appropriate, it should be, the language should be appropriate. Facts and figures that we are using in our message should be accurate. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Effective communication. Then barriers of communication. Barriers are, what are barriers in communication? And can you give some examples of barriers?
For example, we could have a network issue now, ma'am. That could be a barrier.
Yes. And more examples? Anyone?
Lack of a common language.
Language. Yes.
That could be, yes.
If I have a loudspeaker speaking, playing now outside, I won't be able to hear your lecture, ma'am.
Right. Noise was also a barrier. Noise. Yes. Okay, that anything, any barrier that hinders the recipient from receiving the message properly. So the message is not reaching to the receiver as it was sent by the sender. All these that come in between that path, all these are called barriers. It can be divided into five types. These are the five types: organizational barrier, physical barrier, psychological barrier, linguistic and cultural barrier, mechanical barrier. Now, in detail, we will understand these one by one. What can be the organization? What can be the barriers in an organization? What do you think?
Maybe the rules of communication.
Very right, right.
The hierarchy, ma'am. Protocols hierarchy.
Yes, like only the workers can't directly communicate with the CEO. This is also barrier, hierarchical barrier. Yes. Okay, let's see what are organizational barrier. In an organization, several communication barriers arise, including the following: rules and policies. Rules and policies in an organization dictate how communication should take place, adherence to which is mandatory. Failure to comply often results in incomplete communication and ineffective listening. So, when rules are overly rigid or restrictive, then this can also become, those rules and policies can also become barrier. Hierarchical position. Individuals may not be able to communicate directly with higher ranking authorities due to their hierarchical position. This can lead to emergence of grapevine communication. Next, complex organizational structure involves a significant gap between employees. Like when they're in an organization, there are multiple layers of management, departments, many departments, reporting lines. They can create significant gap between employees, and the employees cannot communicate with each other due to that gap. Specialization of jobs. Impact of field experience. So in specialization, while field experience is valuable for building expertise, it can also become an organizational barrier if it is not balanced with opportunities for collaboration or openness to new ideas and new knowledge share. So when if someone is specialized in their job and do not know about other field, they do not have field experience of others, then this can also become a barrier. Inadequate facilities and opportunities. Employees hide things, change the subject, and there are not enough facilities available, then the employees might think that if they share this thing with their with the authorities, then uh, they might not understand them, or they might think that they have done something wrong. So due to this also, they start hiding things from their authorities. Organizational dynamic, being affected by actions such as promotion not happening due to company stability and others. So when the promotion is not happening in the company, then employees do not openly share, they do not give honest feedback. This thing also becomes a barrier in communication in an organization. So that's enough for today. Tomorrow we will do other barriers: physical, psychological, linguistic, mechanical. If you have any problem in today's class, you can ask.
It's clear now.
Okay. Please start the prayer then.